The NFL draft can completely change the landscape of the NFL, and the 2018 NFL draft was no different. Here's my grades for the 2018 NFL draft. Starting with the first pick. With the first pick in the 2018 NFL draft, the Cleveland Browns selected Baker Mayfield. This was a pretty controversial pick at the time. I think it was around an A-. I had Baker Mayfield as my second quarterback on the board behind Sam Darnold. But as we can see, as of now, this pick is an A+. For the first time in what I think is 20 years, the Browns look like they have the franchise quarterback. If the guy who was drafted next wasn't drafted, Baker Mayfield would have won Offensive Rookie of the Year. He won 7 games, which is 6 more than they won in the last 2 seasons. He's going to be their franchise quarterback. A+ pick for the Browns. With the second pick in the 2018 NFL draft, the New York Giants selected Saquon Barkley. This is also an A+ pick. Saquon Barkley was an all-pro running back. I think he was probably not, if not one of the best, he was the best running back in football last season. He's just so elusive, and you can't forget those thick thighs. That man is just an athletic freak, and this is just a very good pick for the Giants. I think they still should have gone quarterback, but you can't complain if you get an all-pro. With a third pick in the 2018 NFL draft, the New York Jets selected Sam Darnold. As I said before, he was my first quarterback prospect, and I'm giving this a B+. He didn't have the best season, but he improved and he showed some serious flashes. I think the Jets, personally, I feel that they have their franchise quarterback, and I think he's going to put up a good season next season. It's just that he didn't really have the wow season that Baker Mayfield had, which is why I'm giving him a B+. With the fourth pick in the 2018 NFL draft, the Cleveland Browns selected Denzel Ward. I'm giving this an A-. This pick was heavily criticized. People thought they should have gone with Bradley Chubb, who ended up going to the Broncos. But Denzel Ward was an amazing corner. He made the Pro Bowl, which, that's a popularity contest, but he still made it. He had a very good season, ton of turnovers, 4 fumbles, interceptions. He was just a very good player for the Browns in that weak secondary, and I think he deserves an A-. He got injured near the end of the season, which is why he didn't get an A, but I think that's a very good pick for the Browns. With the fifth pick in the 2018 NFL draft, the Denver Broncos selected Bradley Chubb. I'm giving this a solid A. Bradley Chubb put up 12 sacks. That's almost unheard of for a rookie player. Obviously benefited from Von Miller, but I feel like this is also going to benefit Von Miller because Bradley Chubb is a good player. They'll feed off of each other. Solid pick for the Broncos. Actually, very good pick for the Broncos. With the sixth pick in the 2018 NFL draft, the Indianapolis Colts selected Quentin Nelson, offensive guard. Quentin Nelson was an all-pro. This is an A+ pick. Best offensive guard last season. One of the best offensive guards last season. That's why he made the all-pro. He's a rookie, and this guy is just insane. Freak of nature. He helped solidify that offensive line, which went from one of the worst to the best, I think, in the league in one season. And he's a big part of that. Very good pick for the Colts. With the seventh pick in the 2018 NFL draft, the Buffalo Bills selected Josh Allen, quarterback. I hated Josh Allen coming out of college. I thought he wasn't accurate, but I could kind of see the Carson Wentz comparisons. And Josh Allen surprised me. I'm giving him a B+. He had some pretty big games. Obviously, one of the biggest plays I can think of is him hurdling Anthony Barr. He was a menace on the ground, surprisingly. And he was actually pretty good at passing. I think he has room to develop. Didn't have a crazy season, but had some very good games. Very bad games as well. But it's a solid pick for the Bills. I think they very well might have also found a good player that they can develop. With the eighth pick in the 2018 NFL draft, the Chicago Bears selected Roquan Smith, linebacker. I'm giving this a B+. I think he had most of the season he was pretty good, but from my understanding, he had a little bit of a down rookie wall, like most rookies have. And I think he was probably the second best rookie linebacker this year, behind Um, Darius Leonard, who obviously won the Rookie of the Year and an All-Pro. He's a good player. Definitely a good pick for the Bears, and probably will end up having a very good career for them. With the 9th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers selected Mike McGlinchey, offensive tackle. I didn't like this pick, and when I regraded this draft, I gave it a B. But when I think about it more, this is a B plus. From what I've heard, Mike McGlinchey has been a really good player. Obviously, he's had his ups and downs. He's not an All-Pro player as of now, but he had a very good season for an offensive tackle, and apparently he's going to really help solidify the offensive line and be like the beginning of a new core, because lots of those players on San Francisco's offensive line are getting old. I think this is actually a pretty good pick. That's why I'm giving it a B plus. With the 10th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals selected Josh Rosen, quarterback. I'm giving this a C plus. Josh Rosen had by far, I think, the worst quarterback season, maybe in the league, if not among the rookie quarterbacks for sure. He also did flash, and lots of other players do flash, but I think he was also put in a mediocre position. There's lots of rumors about Kyler Murray right now, and he might go there. But as of now, I think they have a solid player. I don't know whether or not he'll pan out. He had the worst season of any rookie quarterback, but I think he can definitely improve as long as Arizona puts some draft capital into actual good players. With the 11th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins selected Minkah Fitzpatrick, safety from Alabama. I originally had this as an A, but I actually think it's a slightly lower with a B plus. Don't get me wrong, Minkah Fitzpatrick is a very good player who's very versatile for that defense. Played, I think, nickel corner. I think he might have even played outside. He obviously played safety. But from what I've heard, he himself said that he definitely needs to improve in certain areas. The Dolphins are impressed with his play, and I think he's going to end up being one of those very good safeties in the next few years. But as of now, he had a solid but not amazing season, which is why he's getting a B plus. With the 12th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selected defensive tackle Vita Vea from Washington. Vita Vea, this is a D for me. He was injured, and even when he was on the field, he didn't really show that much. I think he still has room to improve, though, because he was injured most of the time, and from what I also heard, he improved as the season went on, but as of now, it's not looking like that good of a pick. With the 13th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Washington Redskins selected Daron Payne, defensive tackle. For me, this is a B. He had an average season, didn't really have any big games, but I think he's probably going to be one of those pretty solid players for the Redskins. He's definitely not on a crazy Aaron Donald level, but he's definitely a pretty good player for them. With the 14th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints selected Marcus Davenport, defensive end. I'm giving this a B+. He was a pretty good player in that rotation down there in New Orleans. He got injured near the end of the season, but he definitely had some very good moments for that team, and he helped that team. He was pretty raw, and it was pretty well known that he needed some development, so hopefully he should develop into a better player as time goes on, and he should recover from that injury. With the 15th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Oakland Raiders selected Colton Miller, offensive tackle. I'm giving him a C-. He was the 60th rated tackle based on PFF. But with that being said, he also did have some flashes, and he played, I think, injured almost the whole season, which is what contributed to his bad season. I don't think he's a Mike McGlinchey level of talent, but I think he's definitely going to be a solid player. When you look back on it, he's probably going to end up being like a B for his career. With the 16th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills selected Tremaine Edmonds, linebacker. This is a B+. He had a pretty good season, and he played, I think, all the most snaps of any Buffalo defender this season. Buffalo has a good defense, and he definitely was the best linebacker on that team, I feel. And he's probably the third or second best linebacker as of last year when it comes to rookies. Good pick for the Buffalo Bills. With the 17th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Chargers selected Derwin James, safety. This is an A-plus pick for me. He was in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. He finished second, I think, to Darius Leonard, who ended up winning it. And when you're second for Defensive Player of the Year, you're a good player, and I don't really need to explain that. He's an A-plus, very good safety for the Chargers. With the 18th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers selected Jair Alexander, a cornerback. I'm pretty biased, but of all the games I watched, every time I watched Jair Alexander, he always had a crazy game, which is why I'm giving him an A-. He was on the PFF All-Rookie team, with whatever that holds. Pro Football Focus is kind of sketch. But I think that the battle for the top corner in this year's class is definitely between him and Denzel Ward. If they're both healthy, I don't really know who you give the edge to. I'll give it slightly to Denzel Ward, but they're both very good players. With the 19th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, America's most hated team selected Leighton Vander Esch, linebacker. Eagles bias says that this is an A- pick. It's probably actually an A. Leighton Vander Esch had a very good season. I think the Cowboys found their Sean Lee replacement, which I'm not really looking forward to. He's a good player, though. Probably an A, but I'm giving him an A-. With the 20th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions selected Frank Ragnow, offensive lineman. I believe he played all the snaps this season. He didn't miss a single snap. He had a pretty solid season, nothing spectacular, but he's going to probably be a good anchor for that offensive line in the future. Solid season, nothing spectacular. I'm just going to give him a solid B grade. With the 21st pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals selected Billy Price, center. This is a D pick. First of all, he missed the first 6 games with, I think, a torn pec. So that probably impacts his rating a little bit. Might be a little bit higher. But he had a straight-up mediocre season. He was terrible for the Bengals. Maybe he can develop, but as of now, this is just a D. He had a terrible season, so I can't really say anything else about him. With the 22nd pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans selected Rashaan Evans, linebacker. I'm giving this a solid B. I think if we graded this in the first 8 weeks, he probably would have ended up with a C. But he started trending up very much at the end of the season. Really boosted his grade up. Finished strong, which is why I'm giving him a solid B. And I think he should keep on developing. Might end up being one of the better linebackers in this year's class. With the 23rd pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots selected Isaiah Wynn, offensive guard. And I'm giving him an NA because he tore his ACL in training camp and he didn't play this season. Can't really grade him. I'm not going to grade preseason tape. I think he played a couple games. So I'm just going to leave this as an NA. With the 24th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers selected DJ Moore, wide receiver. I'm giving him a solid B. He had 750 yards, I believe. Put up pretty good catch totals, and he ended the season on a very high note with his only 100-yard game of the season, which is a pretty big moment, I feel. Usually rookie wide receivers don't tend to be crazy. They don't tend to have OBJ seasons. So this is just a solid B for me. With the 25th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens selected Hayden Hurst, tight end. This is an F pick for me. First of all, this guy is like 26 years old when you're drafting him. I don't know why you're drafting him. He pretty much entered the draft because his baseball career failed, first of all. Second of all, you ended up drafting Mark Andrews, I think, in the 3rd, and from all the games I watched, you used him more. So you drafted this guy with your first round pick at 25, a tight end that you didn't even use. This is just a terrible pick. I don't know what Ozzie Newsome was doing for his last draft, but I can't really blame him. He hit on a later pick. But this pick is just straight up garbage. With the 26th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons selected Calvin Ridley, wide receiver. I feel like this is a pretty surprising pick come draft day, but I'm going to give him a B+. He had a ton of very good games. He also had a ton of games where he had like 0 catches or like 1 catch for 8 yards. I'm just going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he had a pretty good season overall, and he's going to really help Julio in the future. With the 27th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks selected Rashad Penny, running back. I would give this pick an F. This is a luxury pick. Everyone thought the Seahawks were in rebuilding mode this year, and they went with a luxury pick at running back. That's terrible. First of all, they had Chris Carson. He had a very good season. He ended up being pretty much the bell cow this season. And the only reason this isn't an F for me is because Rashad Penny actually showed some good bursts. And like from what I saw, he had some pretty good plays. And I feel like it's a waste of a pick because you're not using him because of Chris Carson. It just makes no sense to me. With the 28th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers selected Terrell Edmunds, safety. Everyone hated this pick, but Terrell Edmunds actually ended up playing like the 4th most defensive snaps of like any player in the NFL, which for me warrants a B+ grade. The fact that he was good enough to be on the field, I get it. They don't have good safeties, but he had a good season overall. Played a ton of snaps, still has a ton of room to improve on. I don't think he's ever going to be a Derwin James, but I think he's going to be a pretty solid player for that organization. With the 29th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars selected Taven Bryan, defensive line. This pick is a D- for me. He was probably the worst first rounder overall this year. I think you could warrant giving this an F grade. I don't think he had any good games, to be honest. He was just a terrible pick. Terrible player. He might improve. This is pretty bad analysis, but he had 0 sacks, like barely any tackles, just a terrible season. With the 30th pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings selected Mike Hughes, corner. This is just a C for me. He was, from my understanding, pretty okay. Nothing spectacular, nothing that bad, I guess. But he also ended up tearing his ACL pretty early on, which is why I feel like he has such a low grade. He might have ended up improving his grade, but he didn't get to play. With the 31st pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots selected Sony Michel, running back. This is an A pick for me. First of all, they rided this guy a ton. In the playoffs, I think he had like 6 touchdowns or something crazy like that. That alone to me shows that the team believes on you. The fact that a Bill Belichick running back team, the fact that he put up those numbers, almost 1,000 yards, it's crazy. He was a very good player for that team. Didn't really have the passing utilization, but that team has James White and Rex Burkhead and a ton of other backs. So it kind of makes sense that he's the best running back on that team when it comes to a purely running viewpoint. Overall, very good rookie season for him. I love him as a player, and that's why I'm giving him an A. And finally, with the last pick in the first round of the 2018 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens selected Lamar Jackson. I'm going to be honest, I did not see him falling this far, but he's a very solid A- for me. That offense was terrible with Joe Flacco, and under him, it went from less passing to more running. I think they were like the number 1 or 2 rushing offense when Lamar Jackson came in. But he took that team to the playoffs. Obviously it wasn't him single-handedly, but they went from like a 4-5 record to making the playoffs, which for me is a pretty solid season. Didn't really have any spectacular breakout games through passing and running, like a Michael Vick type of game, but he was just a solid player for that team. He's probably the 3rd or 2nd best rookie quarterback this year. Very good pick for the Ravens, who just got rid of Joe Flacco. I think they found their franchise quarterback. So these were my grades for the 2018 first round. If you had anything that you disagreed with or you agreed with, leave a comment, leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe if you want more content like this.